On Mother's Day, in front of our entire family, my mother looked me in the eye and sneered, "I wish you'd never been my daughter." All because I refused to hand over my new $65,000 SUV to my spoiled brother. I didn't cry. I picked up my keys, looked back, and said, "Then consider your wish granted." 10 minutes down the road, her text hit my screen. "Bring my car back right now, or I'm calling the police for grand theft auto." I smirked and typed, "Go ahead." She forgot one thing. I'm a forensic accountant. I owned the car, I owned the mortgage, and I had the dashcam receipts. 45 minutes later, 3 police cruisers didn't pull over my SUV on the highway. They showed up at her front door to cite her for a false felony report, while I prepared to take back everything I owned. My name is Emily Miller. I'm 27 years old, and for the past 5 years, I've worked as a senior forensic accountant at a private wealth firm downtown. Numbers don't lie. They don't manipulate, they don't play favorites, and they don't rewrite history to make themselves feel better. People, on the other hand, do it every single day, especially my family. Growing up, my mother, Evelyn, had 2 very distinct categories for her children: the golden boy and the safety net. The golden boy was my younger brother, Julian. At 24, Julian had never held a real job for more than 3 months, had dropped out of 2 different community colleges, and spent his days trying to become an independent crypto consultant from our mother's living room couch. To Evelyn, though, Julian was a misunderstood genius whose big break was always just around the corner. Every failed business venture was simply someone else's fault. Then there was me, the safety net. I put myself through college on academic scholarships while working 30 hours a week at an audit firm. When our father walked out a decade ago, I was the one who learned how to balance the household budget. I was the one who set up automatic utility bill payments, paid down overdue property taxes, and quietly transferred thousands of dollars whenever an unexpected crisis hit. Yet, in Evelyn's eyes, my stability wasn't an achievement, it was an obligation. Success was just something expected of me so I could finance Julian's endless second chances. 2 weeks before Mother's Day, my 7-year-old compact sedan finally gave out on the highway. I had worked 80-hour weeks during tax season, saved diligently, and decided it was finally time to treat myself. I bought a brand new, charcoal gray luxury SUV for $65,000. Cash. Paid in full. The title was printed in my name alone, tucked securely inside my glove compartment. It was the first truly lavish purchase I had ever made for myself in my entire adult life. When Evelyn saw a picture of it parked outside the dealership on my private social media page, she immediately sent a flurry of heart emojis with a message. "Oh, Emily, you shouldn't have. You finally understand what real family sacrifice looks like." She hadn't asked a single question. She didn't ask how I afforded it or why I bought it. In her mind, there was only one possible explanation. Her dutiful daughter had bought a luxury vehicle to hand over the keys on Mother's Day. She assumed it was for her, and that her golden boy Julian would naturally inherit my old life. Mother's Day brunch was hosted at the Grand View, an upscale waterfront restaurant downtown where a single plate of eggs Benedict cost $40. Evelyn had invited my aunt, my cousins, and 2 of her closest friends from the neighborhood. When I pulled up in my new SUV and handed the keys to the valet, I could already see them seated at the prime patio table by the water. The moment I sat down, Evelyn held up her champagne flute to make a grand, sweeping toast. She didn't thank anyone for coming. Instead, she spent 5 straight minutes talking about Julian's revolutionary new business mindset and how he was on the verge of landing a massive corporate partnership, completely omitting the fact that he was still waking up at noon in her spare bedroom. She barely glanced my way until the bill arrived. When the waiter placed the leather check presenter in the center of the table, Evelyn nudged it straight toward me without missing a beat. I quietly slipped my card inside. Then, leaning across the table with a wide, performative smile, she clapped her hands together. "Now, for the big surprise everyone's been waiting for," she announced, raising her voice so the surrounding tables could hear. "Emily, hand over the spare key to that stunning SUV outside." The table went quiet. I looked at her, my fork resting on my plate. "What spare key, Mom?" "Don't play coy, darling." Evelyn chuckled, though her eyes were sharp as steel. "We all saw it outside. It's the least you could do after all the sacrifices I made raising you. I'll take the new SUV for my daily appointments, and Julian will take your old car so he can finally drive to client meetings like a real executive." Julian sat back, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. "The SUV isn't a gift," I said, keeping my voice perfectly calm and level. "I bought it for myself. I need it for work." The smile vanished from Evelyn's face so fast it was chilling. The restaurant patio fell dead silent. Her face flushed a deep, mottled red, and she slammed her palm against the linen-covered table, rattling the crystal glasses. "You selfish, ungrateful little brat," she hissed, her voice cutting through the quiet dining room. "I gave you life. I gave up my youth for you, and you won't even honor your own mother on Mother's Day?" "It's my car, Mom," I said softly. Evelyn leaned in, her eyes filled with pure venom, and spat out the words that broke 27 years of silence. "I wish you'd never been my daughter." The silence that followed was suffocating. Every eye on that patio was locked on us, but I didn't flinch. I slowly set my napkin down on the table, pulled my credit card back, and stood up. "Then pretend you never had one," I said. I turned on my heel, walked past the stunned waiters, and handed my valet ticket to the attendant. As the engine of my SUV purred to life, I felt an eerie sense of calm wash over me. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't crying. For the first time in 27 years, the invisible chains had simply snapped. 10 minutes down the highway, my phone chimed on the dashboard mount. A text from Evelyn. "You humiliated me in front of my family. Bring my car back right now, or I'm calling the police for grand theft auto. Let's see how smart you look in handcuffs." I pulled into a gas station parking lot, looked at the screen, and tapped out a 2-word reply. "Go ahead." Evelyn truly believed she had the upper hand because she always relied on emotional terror to get her way. But she forgot who she was dealing with. I don't build my life on emotional outbursts. I build it on hard data, signed contracts, and verified assets. 2 years ago, Julian had racked up $40,000 in bad crypto bets and credit card debts, nearly dragging Evelyn into foreclosure. The bank was 30 days away from seizing the family home on Elm Street. Evelyn had wept in my apartment, begging me to save the roof over their heads. I didn't just bail them out with cash. I protected myself. I had my attorney draw up a private sale agreement, paid off the remaining mortgage balance, and officially transferred the property deed into my name. Evelyn had signed the transfer paperwork without even reading it, far too relieved to care about the fine print. She believed she still owned that house. In reality, she was merely living in my property, rent-free. Sitting in my SUV, I didn't panic. I opened my digital cloud vault, verified the electronic title and registration of the vehicle, and dialed the non-emergency dispatch line for our local police department. "Good afternoon," I told the dispatcher in a calm, professional tone. "My name is Emily Miller. I'm calling to report a potential fraudulent stolen vehicle report that may be filed shortly under my name and license plate." I provided the VIN, my registration details, and the background of the civil dispute. The paper trail was already set. Evelyn was walking right into a trap of her own making. Evelyn didn't waste a single second. Exactly 20 minutes after sending that threatening text, she dialed 911. She didn't just claim I had stolen the vehicle. She spun an elaborate, hysterical narrative. According to the dispatch logs I later obtained, she told the operator that I had caused a violent scene at the restaurant, physically shoved Julian when he tried to intervene, grabbed the keys from her purse, and sped off in her brand-new SUV. She played the distraught, terrified mother to absolute perfection. Meanwhile, I calmly drove straight to the 3rd Precinct station downtown. I walked in with my laptop bag, requested to speak with the desk sergeant, and laid out my evidence on the counter before a single officer even left to track down the stolen vehicle. "Officer, here is the original bill of sale for the vehicle, paid in full from my personal savings account," I said, placing the certified documents in front of Sergeant Miller. "Here is the vehicle title, printed solely under Emily Miller. Here is the active insurance policy listing me as the only authorized driver. And finally, Here is the high-definition dashcam footage from the restaurant parking lot. The sergeant leaned over the screen. The footage had both front and rear wide-angle feeds with clear audio. It showed me calmly receiving my keys from the valet, stepping into the car alone, and driving out at 5 miles per hour without speaking a single word to Julian or Evelyn. There was zero physical altercation, zero shouting, and zero property theft. Sergeant Miller let out a low whistle and shook his head. Well, Ms. Miller, this isn't auto theft. This is a blatant civil disagreement paired with a completely fabricated emergency report. I am officially requesting that a report for filing a false police report be documented, I replied calmly. While I was completing my formal statement in the precinct lobby, 3 patrol units that had originally been dispatched to search for me were redirected straight to the house on Elm Street. Evelyn was on the front porch, arms crossed, expecting to see me arriving in the back seat of a squad car. Instead, 3 uniformed officers stepped out of their cruisers, notebooks in hand, to question her under caution regarding malicious 911 misuse and filing a false felony report. For the first time in her life, Evelyn's manufactured drama didn't earn her sympathy, it earned her a criminal citation. When I walked out of the police precinct that afternoon, the last trace of familial guilt evaporated. If my mother wished she had never had a daughter, I decided it was time to show her exactly what life looked like without one. I drove straight to my office, opened my financial dashboard, and began systematically dismantling the safety net I had spent years maintaining. First were the secondary credit cards. Over the past 4 years, I had kept both Evelyn and Julian as authorized users on one of my high-limit credit lines to cover emergencies. A quick glance at the statement revealed that their emergencies included $500 dinners, designer clothing, and Julian's weekly club tabs. With 3 clicks on my banking portal, I froze both cards permanently and removed them as authorized users. Next was Julian's car. The compact sedan he drove around town wasn't his. The lease was entirely in my name and backed by my pristine credit score. I pulled up the leasing portal, initiated a voluntary early surrender for the vehicle, and scheduled a flatbed tow truck to retrieve it from the Elm Street driveway by Tuesday morning. Then came the real reckoning, the family home. I called Marcus Vance, a seasoned real estate and tenant attorney who had handled several property disputes for my firm's clients. Marcus, the title on the Elm Street property is clear and solely under my name, correct? I asked. 100%, Emily, Marcus replied, pulling up the file. You bought out the lien 2 years ago. No co-signers, no life estates, no formal lease agreement in place. Draft an official 30-day notice to quit, I said, my voice steady. Deliver it via certified process server by tomorrow morning. I'm placing the house on the market. Are you sure? Marcus asked, sensing the weight of the decision. They won't have legal grounds to fight an eviction, but it will be final. I've never been more certain of anything in my life, I answered. For nearly a decade, I had absorbed their disrespect because I thought keeping a roof over their heads was what a good daughter had to do. But I was no longer playing that role. Every utility bill in my name, electric, water, high-speed internet, was scheduled for disconnection at the end of the billing cycle. The streaming subscriptions, the health insurance add-ons, the automatic grocery delivery services, canceled one by one. By the time I shut my laptop, the invisible empire they had been living in on my dime was reduced to 0. They wanted to discard me, but they had forgotten that without me, their entire reality would collapse under its own weight. The collapse happened faster than either of them could comprehend. It started on Monday evening. Julian was at a high-end lounge downtown with his friends, racking up a $600 tab to celebrate his supposed new business venture. When the bill arrived, both of the credit cards under my name declined. He tried a second time, then a third. Embarrassed in front of his circle, he was forced to call Evelyn, only to find out her card was frozen solid too. At 8:15 a.m. the following morning, a certified process server knocked on the door of the Elm Street house. Evelyn opened it in her robe, expecting another delivery package, only to be handed the official 30-day notice to vacate the premises. 10 minutes later, a flatbed tow truck pulled into the driveway to repossess Julian's leased sedan. By noon, my phone had accumulated 47 missed calls and 28 text messages. The initial messages from Evelyn were pure, unbridled fury. "How dare you humiliate your brother? You are an evil, spiteful girl. Call off these lawyers and unfreeze my cards immediately." 2 hours later, when the reality set in that the electricity and water were scheduled for shutoff, the tone shifted into desperate panic. "Emily, please, we're family. We can't survive out here without a roof. You wouldn't really throw your own mother onto the street, would you?" "Pick up the phone." Julian left a 2-minute voicemail, his voice cracking. "Emily, come on, man. I don't have a car to get anywhere. How am I supposed to go to interviews? Mom is crying in the kitchen. Just talk to us." Instead of engaging in an endless shouting match, Evelyn attempted one final play. She scheduled an emergency family intervention group chat with my aunt, cousins, and uncles, painting herself as an abandoned, abused mother whose heartless daughter was kicking her onto the curb. I didn't argue. I simply drafted a single, comprehensive email and sent it to the entire extended family. Attached to the email were bank statements documenting the $200,000 I had poured into Evelyn and Julian over 5 years, the deed showing I had saved the home from foreclosure, the canceled checks, and a copy of the police report detailing Evelyn's fabricated 911 call. The family chat went dead silent. Within an hour, my aunt called me directly, apologizing for ever doubting me. Nobody came to Evelyn's defense. Her carefully crafted facade of the devoted, suffering mother was permanently shattered by cold, indisputable receipts. 30 days passed without a single concession. When the deadline arrived, Evelyn and Julian packed what little they owned into a rented moving van and moved into a cramped, 2-bedroom apartment 30 miles outside the city, a modest rental they had to pay for using whatever entry-level jobs they could finally scrape together. Julian was working retail at a shopping mall, and Evelyn was taking shifts at a local dry cleaner. For the first time in their lives, they were forced to learn what accountability felt like. The Elm Street house went on the market that following week. With the market moving fast, it sold in less than 20 days, netting $340,000 in clean equity. I took that capital, reinvested half into an index fund, and used the rest to purchase a sunlit modern townhouse closer to my firm downtown. A few weeks after moving into my new place, a notification popped up from an unknown number on my phone. It was a long, rambling text from Evelyn. "Emily, we've learned our lesson. It's been so hard on Julian and me. Mother's Day was just a misunderstanding blown out of proportion. A real daughter wouldn't abandon her blood. Can we meet for coffee this weekend? Let's put this behind us." I stared at the screen, noticing how even in her supposed apology, she still couldn't take true ownership. It was always a misunderstanding. It was always about what a real daughter owed her. I didn't reply. I didn't feel anger, spite, or a desire for further revenge. I simply tapped the screen, left the message on read, and blocked the number permanently. People often say that blood is thicker than water, but toxicity doesn't deserve loyalty simply because it shares your DNA. For 27 years, I mistook being useful for being loved. I thought that if I solved enough problems and absorbed enough cruelty, I would eventually earn the respect of a mother who only saw me as a financial buffer for her favorite child. Stepping away didn't make me cold, it made me free. Sitting on my balcony on a quiet Sunday afternoon, coffee in hand with the keys to my own life on the table, the house was finally silent. No demands, no manipulation, no unearned entitlement. Just peace, self-respect, and a future built entirely on my own terms.